All right. Now, wrapping up his 9th West Asia visit since the Gaza war began, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that there was no time to waste in securing a ceasefire deal.
Well, the top U.S. diplomat also said that Washington does not support any long-term occupation of Gaza by Israel. Now, speaking to the media in Doha before flying back to Washington, Blinken warned that time is of the essence for a truce deal.
This needs to get done, and it needs to get done in the days ahead, and we will do everything possible to get it across the finish line.
Blinken reiterated that Israel has accepted a proposal by United States to bridge the gaps between the two sides for a deal and urged Hamas to follow suit. However, media reports quoted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as saying that his government would insist on keeping control of the Philadelphia corridor on the Gaza-Egypt border. And asked about Netanyahu's remarks, Blinken said that since the start of the conflict, it was made very clear that the United States does not accept any long-term occupation of Gaza.
Now, earlier on Tuesday, Blinken flew from Israel to Egypt for talks with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Blinken then traveled to Doha, where he met Qatari Minister Mohammed bin Abdulaziz bin Saleh Al Khulaifi. Mediators met last week with the Israeli negotiators in Doha, and more truce talks are expected in Egypt this week.
According to Palestinian officials, the war has killed over 40,000 people in Gaza. In the latest, Gaza health authorities claim at least 10 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school housing displaced Palestinians. Meanwhile, Israel's military said it had recovered the bodies of 6 hostages from southern Gaza.
Israel said that the bodies of the hostages were found 10 meters underground in a Gaza tunnel. Israeli protesters took to streets in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem demanding a hostage deal.
Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards have said that there could be a long wait for Iranian retaliation against Israel over the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran.
All right, let's go back to our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, Antony Blinken has wrapped up his 9th visit to West Asia since the war began. But a ceasefire that is still elusive, and Israeli occupation of Gaza, that remains a sticking point still. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, it appears that Israel agreed to this sort of transition and proposal put forth by the United States and Antony Blinken, despite the fact that 2 of the provisions that Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, wanted wasn't in this deal. And one of them was what happens to Gaza after the ceasefire. He didn't want Hamas to have any sort of control over it. And he also wanted Israeli troops on the Gaza-Egypt border. Apparently that wasn't in there. That wasn't good enough for Hamas officials. They said that the proposal was not what they expected and they had discussed. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Antony Blinken is returning without a deal. He's saying time is running out. Next week, we are expecting U.S. envoy Brett McGurk to travel to the region to try to come up with some kind of resolution and solution. However, U.S. officials are telling Politico that time is running out. If they don't come up with a solution next week, then there are no avenues, at least for now, left to bring Israel and Hamas closer together for this ceasefire deal. And, you know, of course, this comes at a time when everyone is worried that there's going to be a wider war with Iran retaliating against Israel and whatnot. So, you know, even for domestic purposes, with the upcoming U.S. elections, the Biden administration hopes to get at least some deal through, but it just appears very elusive at this time.
Even before Antony Blinken went for this 9th attempt for a ceasefire deal in the West Asian region, of course, you know, even then it was considered as little more than optics at that point. Of course, he's come back without anything in hand. Of course, we'll have to wait and watch what comes out. Thank you so much for joining us, Susan, and getting us all those updates.